Greetings, winter soldiers.
This is Obama's war, and it was Bush's war. And before that, sisters and brothers, let's not forget, it was Clinton's war, because Clinton carried out economic sanctions against the people of Iraq, and more than 1 million, according to the UN, perished because they could not get food or medicine.
Of 160 countries, it looked at Afghanistan and said Afghanistan is the worst country in the world to be a mother.
We shall stop these wars.
We shall stop these wars. We are spending $320 million a day in Afghanistan, over $2 billion a month. And what is there to show for the Afghan people? What happened to that idea that if you lift the country out of poverty, it will not be a place that terrorism will thrive? Instead, we've spent our money on bombs and drones and killing people. What the studies have shown is that 1 out of 8 women in Afghanistan dies either from pregnancy or childbirth. 1 out of 8 women. It also found that 1 out of 4 children does not make it till the age of 5.
It's crystal clear now that these wars are going to continue and expand and go into other countries. That is the trend. That is what we know, that there is perpetual war, and it's only going to stop if the people stand up and stop it. To all those serving in the Army and the Marines and the Air Force and the Navy, that you have the absolute right to refuse to take part in these criminal wars, and that's a right that all of you should exercise. You have no reason to go put your life on the line and kill and die for profit. We've been to Iraq, we've been to Afghanistan, and we know what these wars are really about. And we joined the military for many reasons. Because we need a college education, because we need a job, because we need health care. And then we join the military, and they tell us that our enemies are poor people in caves in Afghanistan, or poor people in the deserts of Iraq. But we've been to those countries, and we know that our enemies are not other poor people abroad. Our enemies are the people that laid us off from our jobs, that denied us health care, that make it impossible to get an education. Our enemies are not in the poorest countries on the planet, but right here in the richest one.
When our government says, including the new administration only 2 years in, we must have the ability to kill anyone in any country on the basis of the war on terror, and in fact argues in court that Mr. Anwar al-Awlaki should be on the to-be-killed list, and that the Obama administration is within its rights to execute him wherever he is. What do we say about that?
These are the times that try men's souls, that's for sure, and women's souls. In these times of crisis, the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will fade away, but the winter soldier is here. How many people were in Vietnam? How many of you were vets? Take a look. Okay, well, you know what I'm saying. When I talk about Vietnamistan right now, people ask me, aren't there differences between Afghanistan and Vietnam? Well, yeah, sure there are. It didn't snow in Vietnam, right? We didn't have that. That's one of the great differences. You know, 40 years ago, 6 weeks before the Pentagon Papers came out, there were actually in the winter just before that, there had been a hearing called Winter Soldier in Detroit, another one in New York, which John Kerry then participated in, just back from Vietnam. He did speak very eloquently to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which he now chairs 40 years later. And what he said to Senator Fulbright then was a speech that ended, who wants to be the last man to die for a mistake? Well, nobody has to worry about that today, to being the last man. I'm afraid the war in Afghanistan, if it goes on without more resistance, without this kind of resistance growing bigger and bigger, is going to go on long after the last man fighting there now has gone out of the killing zone, has retired, has gone out. As General Petraeus said, this is the kind of war that goes on all our lives and our kids' lives, is what he's saying. So you don't have to worry about being the last man, but the mistake, yes.
These wars are doing nothing but damage and harm to people's lives all over the world. They're not doing anything to benefit the soldiers here. Soldiers are coming back from these wars, killing themselves, doing drugs, and doing nothing but ruining their lives. And we're doing nothing for the people that we're supposedly helping in these wars. Civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan are dying on a daily basis for no justifiable reason at all.
Guess what's happened since 2008? Guess what's happened? We've doubled the number of troops in Afghanistan. 3 times as many U.S. casualties, that is, killed. 5 times as many casualties wounded. And go up to Walter Reed if you want to see what that's all about.
We have tried the traditional tools. We have tried other ways of advocating. We have tried educating and organizing. And while all of these tools are important, they are not sufficient, and they have not been sufficient. And so I call on all of you, if you love this nation, if you desire peace, if you want to see jobs, education, and health care, if you want to see us lift our people up, then we must stand together. The veterans are showing us the way, and I call on all of us to stand behind them and to be persistent. Today is not enough. Today is the beginning.
And we here today, as we go to that fence at the White House, say, this is not our war. None of those are our wars. It's not our empire. We want money for jobs, education, housing, things people need, not for another war for empire. Thank you, sisters and brothers. Thank you, Veterans for Peace.
One man has chained himself by the neck to the White House fence.
With a bicycle thing.
With a bicycle lock. He's the former president of Veterans for Peace.
Elliot Adams. Elliot, are you in pain?
I'm not as much pain as the country is from the war. The price of war continues to be more than any physical pain I could bear.
I've been thinking about this phrase, equal protection under the law. It never existed in this country. We always know that blacks and poor people never had equal protection under the law. But when you look at what's going on with WikiLeaks, where they're trying to find a law to arrest Assange on, where you look at Bradley Manning, and they're talking about putting him in jail for life, maybe even executing him, for telling the truth.
They're torturing him.
He saw illegal activity that was going on, and as a soldier he knew he should do something about it, so he told his superiors, and they told him to shut up. So he didn't. He told the world, which is what everyone should do.
We're going to tell the president. We're here to tell the president. Down by the White House fence. Down by the White House fence. Down by the White House fence. We're here to tell the president.
All who succumb to fear, despair, and apathy become an enemy of hope. They become, in their passivity, agents of injustice. If the enemies of hope are finally victorious in this nation, the poison of violence will become not only the language of power, but the language of opposition. And those who resist here today with nonviolence are the last thin line of defense between a civil society and its disintegration.
Tell me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! Tell me what democracy looks like! This is what...
Perhaps the greatest service you can give is to be here today and to make your voices heard. Standing up for what's right, taking necessary risks for the sake of freedom, that is the true mark of valor. Because of my beliefs, the government is determined to see to it that I die in prison with you walking beside me. I know my personal battle for freedom will be won. Very soon I hope to walk with you towards freedom and the betterment of all peoples. And you'll notice the snow. In Indian way, the first snow is the time to make new tracks. It's time for Obama to make new tracks. Thank you.
Give peace a chance. Listen.
What did you think when you heard that Bradley Manning was being held in solitary confinement and 1 hour a day and prevented from exercising? And
I think the people that are doing that to him deserve to get their asses kicked bad.